How should I? Anyway, I have to duplicate my screen because I can't. I can't like use the tablet and look at the screen to my side and try to line that up. Um, anyways, first up tonight we are going to look at the final two verbs for those core verbs that we were learning, and then everyone have your tablets and notepads out because we're going to start learning. So of the two remaining verbs, the first one is tsukao, which means to use. And the usage of this is that you're going to use something. An example of this would be like, Oterai wo tsukao, which means I use the toilet. And my trick for this one is like, you think of this Yu-Gi-Oh card here that is totally a legitimate Yu-Gi-Oh card, and I didn't make up 5 seconds before this presentation. Tsunami Cow wins the tournaments when you use it. And the last one is dekiru, which means to be able to or can do. The usage for this one is to show readiness for something or the ability to complete a task. For example, nemuri wo dekimasen, which means I'm not ready to sleep. And you can remember this one with the trick, I can deck those ears of corn. They made a point of it in Boku no Hero Academia that deku means can do. So dekiru, deku from Boku no Hero. So let's go back and review these. I reviewed these verbs that we had. Motsu means
to have,
to hold.
To hold, correct. Next up, naru means
to become.
Yep, become the Hokage. Iru means
to exist for living things.
Yep. Suru means
to do, or it is. No, it's it.
It is to do.
Yeah.
Suru. Can you do it? Shuru, you can. Desu means
It is.
and aru means
Existing for non-living things.
Yep. Next up, the first one is iu.
To say.
Yep. Oku means
To put.
Yep, to put. Okuru means
To send.
Yep. Matsu means
To wait.
Yep. Miru is
To see.
Yep. And iku is
To go.
very good. Yobu is
To call. To summon.
Yep. Tsukuru means it means to arrive. Taberu means
To eat.
Yep. Au means
To meet.
Yep. Nomu means
To drink.
and it's ukeru means
To receive.
Yep. Very good. And the last couple we have I'm sorry.
Kaeru.
Oh, yeah, kaeru.
To go, no, to return.
Yep. God, what was this one? Oh, I know I can read it by the kanji. I forget the pronunciation though, so I apologize for that. It's I've forgotten, but it's to make.
Tsukuru, right? Tsukuru.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah, tsukuru.
Anyway, manabu means
To learn.
yep. The next one I've forgotten as well. It's to use, and tsukao.
To count, yeah.
Very clever. And then dekiru means
You can do it.
yep, to be able to do. So tonight, okay, transition. We'll be going over a kanji boot camp. So we're going to learn the stroke order, the meaning, and some of the readings for each kanji. So in depth, those are going to be, the meaning would be what each kanji represents or what kind of ideas it wants to represent, and the reading is, there's two different types of readings. There's the onyomi and the kunyomi reading, but we're going to focus more on the onyomi reading, and that's what we'll be testing on. And lastly, we'll be looking at the writing of them and how to remember how you want to write them. So, one more thing before we start here. The kunyomi reading it basically means the Japanese reading, and the onyomi reading means the Chinese reading. The difference between these two is that typically you'll see the kunyomi reading being like the actual word for what the kanji represents, whereas the onyomi reading is a pronunciation that you'd use when you're trying to make other words. So for example, the kanji for sky is soda, or sky is sky is soda in Japanese, but am I on the right slide? Yeah. Sky is soda in Japanese, but there's different pronunciations for if you were to use that kanji in another word, it might be pronounced ao, depending on the context. Right. Yep. Anyways, the first kanji that we're looking at is mizu, or water. It has the readings sui, which is the reading that we want to memorize, and mizu is the vocab reading. The memory trick that you can use for this one is you'll see that it kind of flows in 6 different directions here, and because water kind of flows all around the world. Next up, we have the fire kanji, and this one can be read as ka, usually, or hi, or ho. The memory trick for this one is you'll see that it's the same shape as the move Fire Blast in Pokemon. Or if you want to remember, just kind of like a person with his hands flailing like he's on fire. Next up, we want to look at the ground kanji, which can mean earth, ground, or it's also used to represent Turkey. The readings for this are do/to, or what you want to memorize, and the vocab reading is tsuchi. The the good memory trick that I have for this one is if you kind of picture like the ground here, and then somebody dies, you put them in the ground, and you put a little cross on there as a grave for them, and that's your kanji for ground. Next up is this kanji. It means tree or wood. The readings for this would be moku or boku, but the vocab would be ki or ko, depending on the context. A memory trick for this one is that it kind of looks like a pine tree. If you kind of draw it like that, it's just kind of different branches on the tree. Next up is this kanji. It means heaven or sky. The readings for this one are 10 or vocab ame/ama. And the trick to remember this one is that you think of a person and they have on like one of those fancy little hats that you'll see an emperor wearing, where it has all of the things hanging down, and then kind of some nice shoulder pads to kind of represent that they're a little bit higher up. And you think like heaven/sky would mean it would be used in like a regal matter. So you kind of think, draw his hat and his shoulder pads, and then draw the dude. And that's heaven or sky. Next up, we're looking at the kanji for north, which is read hoku, or the vocab being kita. Memory trick for this one is just kind of, you think like two sticks pointing upwards, like two arrows pointing upwards, except the base or the weighted end is at the bottom, so they kind of point in that direction. Next up, we have the kanji for east. It can be read as to, or vocab is higashi. The memory trick here is that you kind of picture that kanji that we had for tree, which was that, and then you combine that with kanji for sun, which we learned last time, is that. So you kind of picture in the east, you always see the sunrise, and you see it when it's rising through the trees. And so the sun is behind this tree in the east. Next up is this kanji, which means south, and it can be read nan, or vocab is minami. The trick for this one is you see in here the symbol for kanji for money, which you'll see in a lot of games is that. And if you can't remember that, just kind of remember like a Y for yen with two little lines through it. And that's in like a little hut with a cross on top of it. And you think like Europe, which was full of all these churches, which are little rooms with crosses on top of them, they made a lot of money by visiting down south and taking over Africa. Imperialism. And the last one before we kind of review is west, which can be read as sei or sai, the vocab being nishi. The memory trick for this one is that if we think of the four cardinal directions, you'd go north, east, south, and west is always going to be the fourth one. And we see that 4 is a radical in this kanji. And so you just kind of put a little hat on it, because we can also think about the kanji for direction, which is this. So we take the top of direction and put it onto the kanji for 4. And these make that. Or, as I always like to think, for some reason, I think of detonator because the West or the US is what pressed the detonator on good old Nippon.
Yikes.
So, let's switch windows here, and we're going to draw some stuff. So, oh. Technical difficulties. So, we have this. Who can tell me what this kanji means?
North.
Yep. And do you remember the pronunciation of it?
Hold on.
The pronunciation of this would be hoku.
Or kita.
Yep, kita being the vocab. Next up, who remembers this? Curved. Who remembers what this
That
kanji
would
means?
be ground.
Yep.
I
Ground.
do not remember how to pronounce it.
Suchi or doso.
Yeah,
Donto or tsuchi.
I remember that because of Naruto.
it took me a bit to write it.
Suchi.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
kita
you'll
or
find you'll
hoku.
find yourself
Hoku.
knowing a few
Oops.
kanji from Naruto. Next up,
Oh, I don't have
let's go with this kanji.
I know it's wood or tree.
Yep.
Um,
The readings for it?
Ki.
Ki/ko are the vocab readings. The readings that we want to memorize are moku or boku. Let's see, next up. This one.
There's west.
Yep. That is the kanji for west. Can you tell me the reading for it?
Nishi.
Yep. Nishi being the vocab, sei or sai being the reading, or being the onyomi readings for it. Next up.
Cool.
Yep. Ka would be, I believe, the onyomi reading for it.
Ka, hi, ha.
And he/ho would be the kunyomi, or the vocab reading for it.
I was somewhat right.
Yeah. Here. Maybe if I try facing the TV while I do this. This kanji.
East.
Yep. And the readings are
Ikashi.
gashi. And the onyomi is to. Let's see, which one have we not done yet? Oh. Next up, this one.
Mizu.
Yep, meaning.
Water.
Water.
Yep, and the onyomi is sui that we want to know. Next up,
That is
Heaven.
heavens or sky.
yep, and the reading is 10, or the vocab is ame/ama. Let's see, and the last one we should have is
One is south.
yep. And do you remember any of the readings for it?
Minami.
Minami is the vocab, and nan is the onyomi reading. All right. So, the next kanji we want to take a look at is the kanji for left, which is sa or hidari. The memory trick for this one is you kind of think of a dude. Hello? Want to drum? Please give me drum. You kind of think of some dude. He's got his two arms here, and in his left arm, he's carrying a girder because he wants to use his right arm to maybe swipe his key or something so that he can get in the door while he's carrying this heavy girder. So, left is that. A dude carrying a girder in his left hand.
Right.
Next one is right. And this one is read as either you or vocab being migi. And the trick to this one is you kind of think of the dude again, but this time,
He's walking away from you. Walking away from you, holding something in his right hand.
Yeah, maybe. But you kind of think he has his mouth in his hand or something, or he's gonna cover his mouth with his right hand, something like that. But this might be like a key card he's holding or something. You just remember that it's the square contrasted to the girder here. And that's right. Next up, we have the kanji for flower. The readings for this one being ka, or vocab being hana. The memory trick for this one is, last week I think we touched on this being the radical for grass, and then this being the radical for person, and 7 being that. So we kind of have all three here. So if you think below the grass, there's a dude planting 7 flowers, which ends up, you cut the tail off of this, so it's that. Flower. The next one also means sky, but it means sky in the sense of empty rather than like heaven. Interesting. And this one, you think, like, you want to distinguish it from 10 as this one meaning like a god, or you think of the gates would be closer to this, and these would be more heavenly and godlike. Whereas this one right here means the sky is in this big, wide open place that has the sun and a bunch of stars and all the clouds and birds fly up here, and it's big and empty. So you want to remember this one by, like, say you're on your construction site and you have your legs here, which means that you're standing on top of this girder, and this thing above you, this roof above you, that's the big empty sky. And it can be read as ku, or the vocab for sky slash empty can be sora, akeru, or kara. Next up is the kanji for mountain, which can be read as san, or the vocab being yama. A memory trick for this one is just you kind of think of the three peaks like a mountain range with three peaks here.
Mm-hmm.
Twin peaks, but like three of them.
Upside down stylized M, maybe.
Yeah,
Mountain.
I think it's much easier to kind of picture this one as a mountain range,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
A lot of kanji are very visual.
Yeah, they can be.
If you think of the kanji for ground, it's just ground, but with 2 more peaks.
Well, ground is
Or kinda. Never mind.
kind of ground. You see that it's very
Yeah,
grounded.
instead of having the line going through right there, it's just 2 peaks.
I think it's much easier to visualize it like this, but that's just me. If it works better for you to visualize the ground kanji, but with 2 peaks, I'm not going to judge you, but you're wrong. Next up is river, and the readings for this are sen, or the vocab for river would be kawa. And the trick for this one is just kind of, you picture the 2 river banks, and then this line is the flow, kind of have that river, or just kind of you think of a river being 3 wavy lines, but they're actually straight. Next up, please, Windows, please. I was just on my pen. Is the kanji for rain, which can be read as u, or the vocab for rain being ame. And you think of, say, kind of, you got your, you kind of got your sliding glass doors, and you got a roof over your head, so you're safe, but these glass doors, you can see the rain just pelting on these doors. So you have rain with that big, nice little split in the center for where the panes divide. Next up, we have I, which can be read as moku, or the vocab for it being me. And if you turn this one sideways, you kind of get like that, and you can kind of picture it as, say, an eye, where you kind of have the pupil right here. You can draw in that little circle, but it's just kind of a sideways eye. Next up is mouth. The readings for this are ko/ku, or the vocab being kuchi. And the memory trick for this one is, mouth is, you open your mouth, and it's bad. So, let's do another quick little quiz. Who can tell me what the readings or the meaning of this kanji are?
Yama and san
Yep,
for mountain.
correct. Just trying to get a list of kanji that we have here. This one. Next up, let's go with
That would be
Miki.
Migi, right hand. I don't remember the actual reading.
The reading of it would be you. Next up, let's go with this one. Here's a tricky one.
Sora, sky.
Ku.
Yep.
Yeah, ku.
Ku or soda, meaning sky. Next up is a really easy one.
Mizu, or, no, I'm wrong. That's rivers, but I don't remember the actual thing for river.
The reading would be sen, or the vocab would be kawa. Next up, we've got
Left.
yep,
Hirari.
or the pronunciation is sa, but hirari is the vocab. Next up,
Ku. Or Kuchi.
yep, ko, or ku, kuchi, meaning mouth.
Hmm.
Next up,
That's the one for I.
yep, moku is the pronunciation, and me is the vocab. Next up,
That's flower. The vocab is hana.
yep. And the onyomi is ka. See, yep, we got one more. And that would be
It's the one for rain.
yep,
Ame.
ame, or u
Yeah.
is the onyomi. All right, very good. Excuse me. Just a sec.
Pretty sure you just didn't want to sneeze into the camera.
Camera? You mean microphone?
Or microphone. Dude, I am tired today.
You're always tired.
Yeah, but I am especially tired today.
You're always especially tired.
Uh, what's that called again?
I have a
Depression?
humidifier now. So,
Shitty sleep schedule.
should be getting rid of this stuff. Anyway, next up we have kanji for ear. Come on. Give me a pen. The readings for this are G, or the vocab being mimi. Trick is kind of like you think of a kanji for eye, except it's kind of got some ears sticking out of it. And this is why calligraphy is very important in learning Japanese. You've got to make sure that it definitely goes over to make that nice little, to get that nice little trail onto all of these. The next one is hand, which can be read as shu, but the vocab will be te. And you think of kind of, if you break your hand and split it into two, you kind of get some weird, gruesome, split your fingers out like that, and your wrist is kind of right there. So, kanji for hand. Next up, we have kanji for either leg or foot, or also commonly known for the verb to be sufficient at something, or to do. Reading for this is soku, or the vocab is ashi, tariru, and tasu. Memory trick for this one is you kind of see, it's like you broke your leg. You got your head right here, and then your body and an arm because you're reaching out for help, and then your leg is kind of broken into this weird bone sticking out right there, and it's not very good.
Oof.
Next up is person, read as jin or ni, and the vocab is hito, and you just kind of think of a dude with 2 legs, not very detailed, just some stick figure dude. Next one being mother, which can be read as bo, or the vocab being haha. You'll notice that's a bit different from what most people use, okasan, but haha is also another word for okasan. And when you think of motherly attributes, you think of, if you turn it sideways, it looks like some Roblox opie right here. Next up is father, read as fu or chi-chi. The memory trick for this one is like your dad's a superstar athlete and he's jumping up to catch something that both of his sons threw, so jumping for joy, kind of raising his sticks. Next up is woman, read as jo, and the vocab being onna or me. The memory trick for this one is kind of, you see, women are normally round, it's commonly said, so you kind of think like that, but to actually write this can be kind of hard. You can kind of cheat and write like the kanji for ku, but make it a little bit slanted there, and then draw it straight through and come back down like that. The next one is male or dude. This one can be read as dan or nan, and the vocab is otoko. Memory trick that you can see here is the kanji for field that you should recognize, or rice paddy. And if you don't recognize that, you kind of think of a planted field with all of your crops, looking like that. And the radical for power, which is this. And you think men are working all day in the field and using their power to get things planted. Next up, let's review all the ones we just went over. So, who can tell me what this kanji means?
Mother?
Yep. And the pronunciation or readings?
Haha.
Is the
Kunyomi.
yeah.
And bo is the onyomi. Very good. Next up, let's go with this one.
That is hand.
Yep. And the readings for it are?
Meh.
Not quite. They would be shu or te is the vocab you're looking for. Next up, we have this one.
Ear.
Yep. And the vocab readings for this are, or the readings for this are?
Meaning.
Yep. Or G would be another one. Next up. This one.
Leg.
Yep. And the readings for it are
Ashi.
Ashi, Tariru, or Tasu for the vocab, and Soku is the onyomi.
Kind of like a sheet. I broke my leg.
Yeah, Ashit, I broke my leg. Hold on. There.
It's the symbol for man.
Yep.
The vocab starts with an O, but I don't remember.
Otoko.
Otoko.
Yep. And the readings would be dan or nan for the onyomi. Next up, what didn't we do? We didn't do this one yet.
Father.
Yep. Readings are fu for the onyomi and chichi for the vocab or kunyomi. All right. This one is
Hito.
yep. Which
Person.
means yep. And another the onyomi being jin or nin. And which one? I think we still have one more. Right, one more. This one, meaning
Woman.
yep.
And
Oh no.
Onna or me for the vocab, and jo being the onyomi. All right. So, next up, do we have any questions?
I have a comment.
Yep.
I think when like you're drawing the kanji, next to it you should write what it is.
Yeah.
To like help with like memorization.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people over there.
Yeah.
It's nice for the you got going.
You see what it is?
Yes, I see what that is.
Yes.
It's very nice.
I see.
Thank you for sharing with the class.
Glad your screen isn't the one we're recording.
Well, it's accurate though.
It is accurate to what a student would write, yes. Anyways, I'm hoping that we can kind of get a rough schedule. Next week, we're going to learn some phrases that are actually useful and explain every word of those phrases that you guys understand what the hell's going on in those phrases. But phrases that I think are going to be extremely useful for us all. The week after that, we're going to learn how to guess the stroke order of kanji, to learn how to properly write them. And then coming up, hopefully, I want to try to find some clips from some American TV or movies to translate to Japanese as a practice session. So we'll see what we can come up with there. Anyways, tonight for the history of Japan, we'll be watching Lin Fami's episode 11 and 12. I have them linked here. Otherwise, you guys know where to find them.